In this video, I'm going to discuss how to measure performance of a business. Hi, I'm the Commerce Specialist. Welcome to my channel where you'll find videos covering learning outcomes of various academic qualifications and professional certifications, including life-changing business ideas and hacks. So let's talk about how to measure overall performance of a business. For a long time, the practice has been that we tend to focus only on the financial performance. To be more precise, profitability. Let me give you an example. I purchased a car for 10,000 US dollar. The market price of that car, if I sell, the going rate is 15,000. So if I purchase for 10,000, I should be selling it for 15. Why? Because all other car dealerships in the vicinity, they're selling similar car for 15,000. But you know what? A customer came to me, old relative or friend, whatever. I sold that car for 60,000 US dollar to the customer. Now what is happening is I am making profit more than any of my competitor. If you look at from the viewpoint of profitability, I made huge profits. But making huge profit is not enough. You know what? Sooner or later that customer will come to know that I overcharged that customer. Do you think that customer is going to recommend anybody to me? I know what your answer is. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If you want to look at performance of a business, do not focus only on the financial aspect. Why? Okay, you may financially do well, you've made huge profits, but are your customers happy with you? No. If your customers are not happy, what about future sales? There will not be future sales. I will not be able to cover up my cost. Forget about profit. So, the message is we have to look at the overall performance of a business rather than just financial performance of the business. And we are lucky that in early 1990s, Professor Kaplan and Norton introduced an idea which we call as the Balanced Scorecard. What does this Balanced Scorecard tells us? Balanced Scorecard tells us that if you want to measure performance of a business, you should measure the performance comprehensively rather than just focusing on profitability or on the financial aspect. So Balanced Scorecard gave us 4 perspectives. Okay, they said if you want to measure performance of a business, you have to look at all these 4 perspectives. The first one is known as financial perspective. Yes, if you want to measure performance of a business, it is important that the business should perform financially. Yes, so financial perspective is important, but this is not the only angle you should be looking at. Equally important is the customer perspective, which means a business should perform financially and at the same time their customer should also be happy. In other words, if I look at financial perspective, I'm looking at what should the business do so that shareholders are happy. What should the business do so that we are able to maximize shareholders' wealth? But when we look at customers' perspective, we are looking at what should we do which is appreciated by our customers. What should we do so that our customers are happy? And you know, happy customers means more sales, and more sales means more profit. So if your customers are not happy, you cannot achieve this goal. These are not the only 2 perspectives. There are other perspectives as well. The third perspective is the internal processes. What is meant by internal processes? Now, if I give you an example, many years back, if you want to travel by air, you have to go to the airline's office, buy a ticket, and then you are able to travel. But do you go to the airline's office these days, or you book online? I'm sure most of you all book your tickets online. So do you think an airline can compete other airlines if they don't have online booking system these days as we speak, which is 2023? Probably your answer is no. Why? Because even I don't remember last time when I went to an agent's office or an airline's office to book ticket. It's been years I'm doing online, which means if you don't improve your internal processes, the way you do business, you will not be able to satisfy your customers. And if your customers are not satisfied, you cannot perform financially. I hope you understand the link here. The fourth and the last perspective, as per Professor Kaplan and Norton, is learning and growth. What is meant by learning and growth? See, we are talking about improving internal processes. If we are talking about improving internal processes, that means you have to spend on training your staff. You cannot have innovations, new technologies when your staff is untrained. Okay? When we're talking about learning, at the same time the company has to develop, spend some money to improve the capacity and skill level of the workers. Your internal processes cannot improve unless there is learning taking place. What have you learned from past mistakes? How you have invested in human resource development. The next stage of our discussion is, alright, we understand in order to measure the performance of a business, we don't only have to focus on financial perspective, but we have to look at all other perspective. The business should be performing in all these 4 areas rather than just financial. This much we have understood. The next step is how to apply this balanced scorecard model on a real business. For applying balanced scorecard, you need to understand that for each perspective, let's say I'm talking about financial perspective, you need to understand what is meant by critical success factor. Critical success factor, also known as CSF. Another name for CSF or critical success factor is goals. So let me give you a CSF for financial perspective. Critical success factor means without which we cannot survive, without which the business cannot survive, without which the business cannot perform. Like for human being, it is very critical that we should get oxygen, otherwise we cannot live. So for a business, financially, what is most important? So one of the critical success factor, one of the goals of any company financially is to make profit. So one of the critical success factor, I'm giving you profit. Means company would like to be profitable. Without which there is no fun in the game. But the question you need to ask yourself is, how would the company know that they are actually making profit? Yes, they have a goal of making profit. It is critical to the business success. But how a business will know that they're making profit? So you need to understand that just like we have critical success factors, we also have KPIs, which is known as key performance indicators. So if my critical success factor is profitability, how would I know whether the business is making profit or not? So there is one indicator. For example, you calculate return on capital employed, calculate net profit ratio, gross profit ratio, stuff like that. So these ratios, when you calculate, they indicate whether you are meeting this criteria or not. If you look at financial perspective, it's not necessary that you have only one CSF, one goal. Businesses would like to make profit, but they would also like to maintain liquidity. And you know what is liquidity? Liquidity is the ability to pay your liabilities when they're due. So probably one of the critical success factor could also be liquidity. So if liquidity is our critical success factor, and which we are focusing a lot, what is the KPI? Calculate current ratio, calculate quick ratio, calculate working capital ratio. Okay, so current ratio, quick ratio and working capital ratios are indicators which shows us how good are we when it comes to paying our liability, how liquid the business is there a liquidity crunch, so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to make you understand is, whichever perspective you are talking about, if you want to apply it on a business, you have to think about, okay, if you're talking about financial perspective, what could be one of the main goals of the company? What is the critical success factor? Once you are able to establish a critical success factor, you should be able to think about the key performance indicators. Critical success factor is, let's say, profitability. So how would you know whether the business is profitable or not? Calculate the profitability ratios. If the critical success factor is liquidity, calculate liquidity ratios. If the critical success factor is risk, then you calculate leverage or debt ratios or gearing ratios. You understand that? Coming to the next perspective, customer. So the critical success factor, I think it's a universal critical success factor. The universal goal of a company is customer satisfaction. So if our critical success factor is customer satisfaction, how we will know that our customers are satisfied? Goal is easy to set. We would like our customers to be satisfied. This is our goal. This is our objective. This is our critical success factor. How will the company know whether the customers are satisfied or not? We need to establish some key performance indicators. One of the suggested KPI to measure customer satisfaction is, let's say, the number of complaints. If the number of complaints are less over the period, that means the satisfaction is improving. Another KPI for customer satisfaction could be the number of repeat customers. So the part of the world I'm operating from now, I'm in one of the GCC countries. So if you want to order food, one of the famous app here is Talabat. Okay, in Pakistan it is Food Panda, and every country you have Uber Eats and all that. So if they look at every second day I'm ordering from the same restaurant, do you think if I'm not happy with the taste or quality or pricing of that restaurant, do you think I'll be buying and ordering again and again from them? No. If the customer is ordering again and again, that is one way of understanding that the customer is happy. So if you have repeat orders from the same customers, that means customers are satisfied. You can have more than one CSF, you can have more than one KPIs. So let's look at internal process. What could be the CSF here? Let's say we are talking about customer response or response to customers. Response to customers. What could be the KPI? Let's look at the lead time. So if our critical success factor for internal processes, let's say we are a business selling pizzas. So we would like to be responsive to our customers. This is our priority. How would we know whether we are responsive to them or not? Let's look at the lead time. Lead time is the time lapse between receiving the order and delivering the food. So if our lead time is less, that means we are more responsive. So let's look at the last one, learning and growth. Let's say the critical success factor is that we want, for example, highest level of service to our customers. We want highest levels of service for our customers. We want more innovation. We want to be creative. But let me tell you, all that will not come free of cost. So you have to see, if you want to give high level of service to the customers, how would we know whether that is happening or not? Let's look at the percentage of budget which is spent on training. So if you've been spending more on training over the years, that means you're training your workers to learn new technologies, new methods, and if they are developed, it will increase their capacity to handle change when there are new processes. If there are new processes, which is the need of the hour, your customers will be satisfied. If your customers are satisfied, obviously, ultimately, you will be financially successful. So what you need to understand is, just looking at profitability or the financial aspect is not the only criteria to measure success of a business. If you want to measure success of a business, you got to look at the overall perspective, not just one. You have to give it a holistic view. Now, if I am to write a book, I will not end it here. Yes, every book you read, every book you look at for Balanced Scorecard, they will tell you there are 4 perspectives. Each perspective have a critical success factor and have KPIs, or instead of critical success factor, it is written goals. Instead of KPIs, they call it measures. But we have to go beyond this. For each perspective, we have critical success factor, we have key performance indicators. Okay, for example, if I talk about financial perspective, we have critical success factor as profitability, and we have key performance indicator as return on capital employed. So what if our expected return on capital employed was 25% and we got only 15? Is it enough? No. We need to have critical success factors. We need to know where we are heading towards, that is KPI. We also need to look at what actions have we taken if we are not getting the desired KPIs. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have any queries relating to Balanced Scorecard, do let me know. Also let me know from which part of the world you're watching me. I'm really interested to know, and I feel really great to know where my subscribers are located. If you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Press the bell notification button so that you get my videos on a timely basis. If you like this video, please share it with your dear and near ones so that others can also benefit. Thank you so very much for your precious time. Love you all.